Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're continuing our series on spellcasting in the Brand New Player's Handbook, and we're talking specifically about Bard spells. Bards have one of the more limited spells list in the game, and when they choose them, they can't change them out until they level up. So, knowing your spells well and knowing which ones are going to be the most useful to you is important. We're talking today about third level spells. Third level spells represent a big turning point for a lot of spellcasters. It's the same level that melee characters are getting, or martial characters are getting their extra attack, and third level spells represent a big jump in power, both in the utility and the control aspects. Bards are no different, being full casters. How is it that bards at level 5, when they get their third level spells, can choose the right ones? The way I do my spell list is I go over two choices for support and two choices for utility and support, and two choices for combat, with an honorable mention thrown in to make it a top 5. Before we get into the details, though, I'd like to let you know, Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships. For just $1 a month, you can support me here on YouTube and get a couple benefits. First, you get a little badge next to your name in the comments, letting folks know you're a supporter. Also, you get early access to my videos. I upload videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I upload them a day early for members only. And finally, you get VIP access in my community Discord. Anyone can join Relaxed Fantasy Review's Discord. There's links in the video and channel descriptions. But if you're a channel member, you go right into the VIP room. You can talk directly to me about D&D, about the YouTube channel, whatever you like. If any of that sounds interesting to you, you can click the join button just down there next to the subscribe button. And if it doesn't interest you, that's fine too. Just being here at all, watching the video, liking, subscribing to the channel, these are all great ways to support me. So thank you for watching my content here on YouTube. So, starting off with the utility spells, we're going to talk about my number 2 pick, and that is the Sending spell. Sending is, for lack of a better term, texting in D&D. You choose a creature, they can be any creature in the multiverse that you're familiar with, and you send them a message. The message has to be 25 words or less, and they get the message. Now, once they get the message, they can choose to either respond to it or not, and once you've sent it, they've actually tweaked the spell just a little bit, because in the old days you could just spam this and send it over and over again. There was no kind of saving throw or anything. Now, creatures, if they receive a message they don't want to receive, they can, block it. This stops you from, sending spells. Sending spells? It blocks you from constantly using sending to keep them awake, and thus, this is an easy way to, hack the game. They remove that hack. But that's not the point of sending. The point of sending is to be able to give messages to people from anywhere in the multiverse basically immediately. Sending undoes campaigns. The whole concept of you've got the secret information from the bandit hideout and you need to report this to the king before the enemy army arrives. Okay. He knows now. That's as fast as it needs to be. This can absolutely be a game-breaking spell in certain situations. It's not going to do a whole lot for you in combat, but out of combat, it is one of the best spells that people don't often think about. So, Sending's a great one. Speaking of combat, though, my number 2 pick for combat is the spell Slow. Slow is a battlefield controller's dream. You designate a few enemies, they make a saving throw, and if they fail it, they get a bunch of negative effects placed on them. Their speed is reduced, their armor class is reduced, their dexterity saves are reduced. They have a tough time casting spells. They can make less attacks. It is genuinely a combat debuff that is just wildly powerful. It is hard to beat it. Obviously, it does have a save, and they can repeat that save. But if they couldn't, this spell would be absolutely broken. They need to be able to try to resist the power that's holding them down. Slow is one of the best spells to drop at this level, especially if you're fighting multiple strong enemies. Slowing them really can even out the battlefield. So really, really top recommendation for me. Now, before we get to the number ones, my honorable mention falls under the combat, and it is Dispel Magic. It actually is arguable that it could be both combat and utility because it does work in both situations, but most of the time when I see people using it is in combat because they don't know counterspell. They can't stop a spell as it's being cast. But let's say there's an enemy wizard who's just cast slow on the party. You as the bard couldn't counterspell it, but what you could do is run up to the most important party member, the raging barbarian, the wizard who's concentrating on a spell, take your pick, and you could cast Dispel Magic on them, and it just undoes the magic. I think that this is a real hot pick if you're in a campaign that specializes in enemy spellcasters. You're fighting a cult with evil mages, or you're fighting an evil mages guild or something. There's a lot of ways that Dispel Magic could come in handy. It's not going to do much against the bandits, although there are bandits that can cast spells now in the monster manual, which is pretty cool. All in all, it is just, I couldn't go through this video without mentioning Dispel Magic. I always want a way to undo magic. Normally I pick Counterspell, but since bards don't have that available, it's Dispel Magic. Alright, number one for utility. Let's go with the utility number one, and my pick for that is Leomund's Tiny Hut. This is such a good spell for non-combat situations, it's almost ridiculous. You can cast it, as a ritual, so you don't even have to spend a spell slot on it, and you create a dome of energy that is basically impenetrable. Like, creatures you designate can go through it, but weapons and spells and stuff can't. I mean, it can be dispelled, of course, but it creates a dome of protection. It keeps you safe from the elements, it keeps you safe from enemies, and you spend 8 hours in there because it lasts the whole time, and you can get yourself a free long rest. It is noticeable, obviously. If you cast it, it can be seen, so an enemy could spot, this and wait for you outside, but you'll know they're there. Not to mention the fact that while you're inside, you can attack out of the dome, but you can't attack into it. So it actually would be great as a combat trick. The problem is it takes too long to cast. You can't use it in combat unless you can set up the battlefield. All in all, it is invaluable, allowing you to do the thing that you need the most, which is long rest, basically anywhere. You can do it in hostile environments, in dangerous situations, as long as you've got the time to cast the ritual, or even if you have a spell slot. I think it takes a minute normally, and then you can just hide inside this thing and recuperate. It's pretty awesome, and I gotta give it top marks. The final spell on this list, this is the number one for the combat tricks. This is Hypnotic Pattern, and I don't think this is a hot take. Hypnotic Pattern is like slow, but better, sort of. It doesn't stop creatures in combat from doing a bunch of stuff. It stops them from doing everything. You cast it in an area, creatures make a save. If they fail to save, they are incapacitated. Basically, they just go, full daze, and they can't take actions, and they can't move. Their speed is set to 0, and they just become completely useless. They stand there drooling. If they fail the first save, they don't even get to make repeat saves. It lasts until the spell ends. It goes for a minute with your concentration, and a creature can be shaken out of the stupor by someone else with an action. But what you're doing is you're presenting a challenge to the enemies on the battlefield. You could cast this, half of them fail their save, half of them succeed, but when that happens, then the ones who succeeded have to make a choice. Do they try to take on you and your party with only half their numbers? Or do they spend their first turn shaking awake their comrades and getting to a point where they are all still in the fight? Because you've just robbed them of a whole turn of action economy, movement, actions, all of that stuff. Well, the rest of your party, because you used your turn to hypnotize people, everyone else basically gets a free turn out of this. And that is so strong. Action economy wins D&D. And anything as simple as one extra round can make all the difference in the world. And if you do happen to hypnotize everyone, well, guess what? Now all your party just has to reach into their bags and grab their rope, tie all the enemies up while they're hypnotized, And yeah, now you've just won the fight without shedding a drop of blood. You can still kill them if you want, but that's murder hobo behavior. In any case, this is genuinely one of the best things to do in combat throughout like the first half of the game. Like this remains useful as the game goes on. Creatures do get better at their saving throws, but incapacitation is just too strong to ignore, especially in a mass situation like this. So yeah, Hypnotic Pattern's my number one pick. If you're playing a bard at level 5 and you aren't sure what to pick, I recommend Lehman's Tiny Hut, Hypnotic Pattern, and Dispel Magic. Sending and Slow, if those don't sound fun to you. There's obviously other ones on here, but I'm just going for a top 5 list. And yeah, those are my recommendations. I hope that helps. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more spell reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.